Before we get started with our meeting, we want to make sure that we go through just a couple of logistics things. So I'll turn it over to Brian. Brian?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Once again, this meeting will be recorded. I would like to introduce a couple of housekeeping measures. To reduce the amount of background noise, please stay muted until you are ready to speak. At the time you are ready to speak, please state your name and affiliation for the record. I'll start by taking roll, starting with the board members. After I say your name, please state here or present. I'll begin with Chairman McFoy.
Present.
Thank you. William Sunderland.
Present.
Deneen Jackson.
Present.
Ray Nosworthy. Thank you, board. I'll now move to other regular attendees, starting with Charlie Martirana.
Present.
Thank you. Damon Sykes.
Present.
David Hill.
Present.
Kelly Lieb.
Present.
Matthew Adam.
Present.
Thank you. Peter Merlot.
Present.
Fuad Arab.
Present.
Bill Ferguson.
Present.
Lisa Foti.
Present.
Jack McMahon.
Present.
Stephen Waldvogel.
Present.
John Davis.
Present.
Michael Wolas.
Present.
Thank you. Beth Sheeler.
Present.
Thank you. If there's anybody that I missed, please unmute your line and state your name and affiliation for the record.
Damon Rand.
Thank you, Damon.
I believe he's on. Dustin.
I don't see Dustin on yet.
Okay, so
And we have some construction going on,
he's going to try to join.
doing that real job stuff. All right, don't look at it.
And any others I missed at Porter Ave?
Brian Smith with GHD.
Thank you, Brian.
Benny, GHD.
Thanks, guys. All right. Anybody else? Hearing no others, back to you, Chairman. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. At this time, we have in front of us approval of our agenda. But before we do that, we want to make sure if there's anyone from the public who would like to be heard, we do have a public comment period. And if you could raise your hand either in the chat or speak verbally, we'd like to get you added into that public comment period. So allot some time for you. Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward on to item number 1, approval of the agenda for today. Board, if you would, please review the agenda as listed. It looks like we have a very concise agenda today. And if you have any additions or subtractions.
Charlie wanted executive session.
Okay. So we will add in item 8, executive session to discuss litigation matters. Any other additions, subtractions?
Do we need any discussion on MOU?
We can. Would that be litigation? Not litigation. What would that be? Contract? Okay, so we'll discuss that under contract matter. We'll keep it at 8. We'll do both for contract and litigation. We'll discuss that one first. All right, is there any other additions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Sunderland, so moved.
Deneen, second.
Been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda as so amended. All in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Deneen, aye.
Nosworthy, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll move on to item number 2, approval of the minutes of the meeting from February 22nd. Board, if you would, please review the minutes as were distributed prior to this meeting for completeness. All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of February 22nd?
Denise, so moved.
Sunderland, second.
The motion is properly seconded. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Denise, I.
Sunderland, aye. Nosworthy, aye.
Unanimous. All right, now we'll move on to item number 3, public comment period. Again, at this time, we normally allot time to hear from our public regarding any concerns that they may have. Is there anyone online that want to speak at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item number 4, staffing update. Mr. Merlo.
Thank you, Peter Merlo, Secretary to the Board, Principal Engineer for the Division of Water. We met last week. Really, the primary was focusing on operators and what we've been trying to do in terms of facilitating anything we can do in-house. We're also finalizing the MOU, which I believe will offer some assistance to that in the interim as we continue to work on staffing. Some good news is, Ray, thank you for filing that. We created a maintenance supervisor 2 at the plant here. That position will help promote an existing general mechanic into a higher, more responsibility position, be able to manage more and really to be more competitive with the salary these days to kind of keep the people, especially the way we operate here. You're not only overseeing existing personnel, but you're also managing a lot of contractors. So it's really managing of both to kind of get the O&M here so that we feel this position is very appropriate. We have a candidate in mind that we believe is very deserving of the job, so it's a win-win. But even also, we think the position is better for the operation because it's always going to be good in these specialty high labor positions. As you recently realized, the salaries at the city are sometimes not as competitive as they can be. Now we can actually pay a higher salary and still get the same level. The gentleman's already doing this work for us. He's working above and beyond his job spec. So he's going above and beyond for the facility. So it's nice to have a win-win, reward him, but also create a position. So a little bit on the personnel side.
Sure. Thanks.
David, any other updates on your end or if Doug's on the line?
Yes, sir. David Ilviola, there has been really some good headway on the customer service area. Speaking with Mr. Rand, I believe all the ACT positions are filled or nearly filled. And I know he was working with Kellyanne and did some interviewing for meter readers, and I believe a few candidates have been picked from that pool. So it looks like we'll get some meter readers really soon. So, and then I believe in the last week we had an orientation for a gentleman. He was either labor or MAW who came on another area within the city.
All right. That is definitely good news. Okay, anything else on that, guys? All right, well, thank you very much. We'll move on then to item number 5, retainer agreement. Mr. Walvogel.
Thank you, Chairman. Normally you let
I
Peter.
was gonna put up Peter, but
That's fine.
I mean, I'm thinking, I'm like, should we do item 6 first? So you can tell us everything that you're doing before you ask for more money? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do 6? Let's do 6, then we'll get Peter involved. All right. Go ahead.
So, by way of update, as usual, there's quite a lot going on. Part of that is evidenced by, what Dustin is doing outside. I would say there's some really interesting things happening. I have the opportunity to go to Washington next week for the Association of Metropolitan Associations, where they are debating and discussing funding for water agencies. And so we are trying to keep our ear to the ground with regard to funding because of all of the things that we're presented with, the challenges here. So often OJ would go to something like that, but he can't make it. So I will never fill in for him or cover, but I'll try to at least just be aware of what's happening and keep our ear to the ground there so we can position you all better for funding. John and Ryan are going to give a couple updates. I don't want to spoil that, but Portia, Ari Parsons has put together a TV program, the first episode, which features some of our very own staff. And it's a pretty neat thing to see, like a television program on Buffalo Water, and congratulate all those people who participated. It's in its final cutting, editing process right now. So I think Ari Parsons is aiming for Water Week to have that.
We get to talk coagulation, flocculation, and sedimentation.
All of it.
All of it.
The stars, Peter. I'm just gonna
Yes,
say.
I love it.
I'm
No,
gonna say it,
no,
right?
no. I really appreciated the two actors that Portia was
Oh, yeah.
able to find. I thought they were really good. And I told them, I thought that could be my brother and sister. So that's kind of new and exciting, I would say. I've invited a couple of gentlemen today to come because we have a series of discussions immediately following this meeting. Brian Smith, he's the gentleman that first hired me and brought me over to Buffalo Water.
Oh, my
And
best.
he's semi-retired, but last year when the health department came through, they noted a bunch of relatively minor improvements that they were looking to achieve. And so Brian is kind of leading that charge. It was an informal sanitary survey, and so they gave the board and the city a heads up. And so we're trying to aggressively take care of all those issues. You do have a plant that's 100 years old, and the standards that we operate against now weren't in existence when they built this plant. So there's some changes that are just trying to address those items. The other thing I'll mention is we've begun a pretty detailed, comprehensive rate review with Lisa Foti. And we're going to be bringing recommendations probably next month for the board to consider in light of the financial condition. So, of course, there are many other things going on, but I'll turn it over to John. John has some exciting things to talk about, I'm sure.
Great, thanks, Steve. Good morning, board. John Davis, project manager here at GHD. We started the process of building marketing materials to support an upcoming RFQ for a community care worker coalition for the lead service line replacement project. We've also postponed the Get Water Wise billboard posters that we had planned to put up. They were originally scheduled to begin at the end of March. But now we're going to start those in June. The posters will help reinforce the work being done by the community care workers once the coalition is selected. Last night, we attended the East Buffalo Environmental Forum at the Frankie Merriweather Jr. Branch Library as the special guest speaker. We presented information about lead service lines and demonstrated how to use the service line inventory map and complete the survey. Community members also learned about the different service line materials and how to identify their service line material. In addition, attendees learned how to use a water testing kit, the water testing kit that 120 Water provides. The event was engaging and successful. Attendees asked questions throughout the presentation, and they also left with additional literature to reinforce what they had learned. We brought literature that we give out to the community during the community festival events.
John,
Yep.
when you say we, who's we?
Portia and myself.
Yeah, John was the guest speaker, and Portia supported him. So
Yeah.
Bill Sutherland, how many people would you say were in attendance?
There were about 12 in the audience, and there was about 6 virtually. The EPA had a representative there. The leader who used to work for the Buffalo Sewer Authority, her name escapes me, but she was there. Some Buffalo Sewer employees were there. The community engagement
Yeah.
person from Buffalo Sewer Authority. So it was a nice turnout, and a couple of community groups and property owners.
So one of the things that this Community Care Coalition will be gearing up to do are similar events. So although it may be a small event this time, we're learning from that, and we'll be adapting how to advertise and how to engage and draw more interested parties, ideally. Sorry, John, go ahead.
No, perfectly fine. Just two more bullets. Porsche finalized the new packaging design for the water test kit, which will be mailed to Buffalo Water customers who requested. The new design was prompted by skepticism and safety concerns because the box didn't have labels identifying it as a Buffalo Water or city product. And we received comments from all of you about the edits or about the episode 1 of the Get Water Wise show. Porsche is going to summarize all those reviews and edits that everyone had and get them out so you can see it. And they're going to work on making edits to the show, and hopefully, like Steve said, have that for May. That is all of my report. I will turn it over to Mr. Ryan Stotts.
Thanks, John. Ryan Stotts, GHD. So yeah, we continue to monitor and manage the getwaterwisebuffalo.org website. The active service line material application is still live. We still are monitoring the traffic data and the performance related to the website, just to make sure that we have a website that stays active, and also looking to see how we can improve the trends and increase the traffic that's going to the website. We want to make sure that the customers in Buffalo are aware of and have educational materials as we continue to mature this website. So as Stephen mentioned, with the TV episode, once released, we will also add that to the website so it's viewable to the public, along with any other how-to videos. We continue to meet regularly with Veolia, 120 Water, and Engineering to build upon the lead program. As the program continues to evolve, we'll take the information and any other educational materials, including service line inventory identification tutorials or how-to videos, to the Get Water Wise website. Aside from that, Veolia and 120 Water are doing a great job to stay ahead of the upcoming regulations and ensure Buffalo is a model for other cities. If there's any questions, happy to take them. Otherwise, I'll pass it back to Stephen.
Thanks, Ryan. I did have one question. I'm looking at this, and this might be a David question. I spent our website, our front page. We have our Get Water Wise, but it's still kind of speaking primarily about COVID-19. That probably needs to be modified. We can modify that drop in this part right here.
The banner.
Yeah, the banner when we drop in. We can modify that probably to Get Water Wise, that code 1 kind of point to.
Gotcha.
All right, I think that would be great. Because we have it on here, but we just needed to say something a little different, so, all right.
Dustin's on, I think, now at the moment, but before we jump to Dustin, I want to mention one other thing. John and I and Bhavin, some of you know Bhavin, we had the pleasure of meeting with Cleveland Water yesterday. Brenda Culler, I don't know if you know her. She is probably the most knowledgeable person that I've met in the industry yet with regard to doing lead service line replacements in disadvantaged communities. The nuances that she was sharing with us was, I had not heard anyone else talk about this. And they have a program that will be at least twice the size of Buffalo. And so it's a really good connection. We're going to kind of try to leverage their experience as much as possible in terms of how they procure their contractors, how they deal with the community, how they prioritize where they go, all of those things. It's a little different situation, but we can learn from their mistakes and their successes. So that's something that we'll be working on as well.
And if you've never been to Cleveland, you would think you were sitting in Buffalo's water treatment. It is the exact same. I mean, same. It is the exact same thing. It was wonderful to go there a couple years ago. And I'm like, this is us. This is us right here. I mean, it's exactly the same. I mean, filtration all the way around. So, Anything else?
Yes, Dustin. Good morning, board. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. How's the pouring going?
Excellent, thank you. Dustin Steiner, GHD, capital improvement berm flood mitigation project, pouring our first concrete pour behind the filter plant for the new stairs, a new door access from the basement of the head house. Going to begin pouring the berm either tomorrow or Monday, which is exciting news, I think. I know for Veolia and for Peter and all of you there and all of us out in the field as well. We've got about 400 feet of new fence up, continuing on fence work, setting, and hopefully going to be, starting to see a lot of berm, footer and wall installation ongoing. Continuing to represent you over at the Centennial Parks project as it relates to our protection of your assets through that park project. And then obviously continuing with our electrical upgrades here at Colonel Ward and several other miscellaneous day-to-day activities as it relates to the limited count contracts that Veolia has. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Dustin. All right,
you.
so with that, we appreciate you guys. Nothing else. Use this one regarding the GHD retainer.
Do you have an item to show?
Yes.
Some of the things that they do and the many things, and it's always good to kind of contextualize things with a little bit of history. The team with the retainer agreement to advise us on tactical issues, really a lot of what we're at the time that it has. Really, part of Veolia is, making sure and they can look at us and they always fulfill it. JC monitors that. So that was the original piece of this contract. You here, which are in addition to the capital, and then you're looking what things, revenue stability, and really how to work with our ratepayers to get through this. Look at the funding. Chairman, this is something you became more active than any chairman in the community. Shadow and view of Flint. How are we developing? So I just really looking at this because I don't think without them we'd be able to be ahead and make the if you go in and look at our community, you talk to people, and you look at what we're trying to do through the community outreach, working with disadvantaged communities. A lot of times, like the same services or maybe different funding applications depending on the area. Projects are experience some of the bureaucrat. Our job is to smooth it out. Actualize a lot of engineering. There's been a lot of rate review. A model that we're actually building as we used to be. So there's been a addition. Even or mostly in addition to those. We're back a whole lot. Right. You want to go to the end?
Yeah, just scroll to the bottom. Are you there, Ryan?
Yes, we can hear you now. I just had
All
to
right,
convert because
so
you're showing
I
in
don't know
there
how much
twice
or-
now.
we're still twice.
Yeah,
That's all right. We'll get rid of it as long as it's not double audio.
there we go. Now we're good.
Okay, now we're good. Okay, great. And so I don't even know if we need to turn it back over to Stephen, but because I think Peter did a great job. But Steve, did you want to?
Yeah, there's one, well, Peter wants to go to the bottom, but there's one thing I will mention is that a majority of this amendment is going directly to our subcontractors, which include Ari Parsons, the Local 716, and the community-based organizations and the community health organizations that will be retained in the next couple of months. So well more than half of the ask here is for them. There's a little bit for us to manage them, and then we will exhaust our retainer fees in the month of April. So there's about 100,000 to get us to the end of June as well on top of that. And I can break that out in much more detail if anyone needs. The total suggested increase is $320,000 to cover all of that. And there is something slightly different about this that I have not talked to Peter about. I would expect this authorization to stay open beyond July 1st, because we would want to keep funding those subs that will continue to work up until probably early winter.
And that's
Yeah.
That cannot happen. with
Okay.
this contract.
I want to say, I don't know if we
Because this contract is totally funded with O&M funds, and it's always been an annual.
It's okay, so
So what you need to do is any of the services that are gonna go beyond June 30th, you can bill up to June 30th, you can still bill in July, they'll hold the books open for it, but it has to be dated
okay.
June 30th.
And I'm sorry, we didn't have this
No,
conversation.
you just need to put those continuation in your next retainer agreement because it's updated there, so I would reflect those into that.
Okay,
So
so there's no way we're going to expend that amount.
Okay, so then what does that become?
The holidays.
Maybe.
No, I'm
we have
with
250 maybe, or 200, somewhere in that range,
All right,
just to be safe. It probably won't even be that much.
well, we'll make sure, obviously, it for being that.
Yeah, this
Right,
is
it's not
all,
50.
this is all as
Yeah,
spent,
yeah.
as expended, so. Maybe I might, just to be very, 225 maybe.
okay,
I'm
two
sorry to-
five.
to
That's
do
all right.
the
No, no, you don't have to do
but,
that.
um,
All right,
So if
we're
I,
gonna
if
need
I
to-
can just, if I can just jump in, if you're not encumbering it, then you can put it into you can just put it into next budget year as well. If you want to split
Right.
it up that way. Okay.
Right, yeah, we will. We'll probably put it in.
But
as
that's
an
never
extra retainer.
it's key because you cannot bill for the time.
Yeah.
If you're billing for TM, you're not billing percent, so you're billing a day the work occurs, so that work has to occur. But if any of that work occurs before June 30th, you cannot bill for it in the next fiscal.
Yeah,
Correct.
so we'll set for the next retainer, so we gotta split it up.
It's a day of the invoice.
Which is fine.
Got it. Yeah, that's always how it's been. But
Yes.
because of this unique situation where we are retaining these CBOs and CHOs for the next 6 to 8
That
months,
bridges this.
I'll come back in June.
I have a solution
With
for
an
you. A month prior, whether it's a May meeting, why don't you get your next retainer agreement approved by the board? Then you can show them all that you have authorization, that then you're gonna capture this in the contract. So you'll have water board approval. Maybe that'll give you some confidence. So they're thinking, listen, you're not gonna have technically a contract for a month. So how are these funds gonna be funded? You can say we have water board approval, we're moving forward. I don't know if that'll help you. You can just get that approval a month early.
Okay, all right, so that.
And,
that's our
and
plan.
generally speaking, if you have, if the work was done at 2.5 months after year end, you can still, because Bill will hold the books open. And as long as you get that invoice in, you can push it into the prior year. Otherwise, you have to, if it happens after June 30th, then you absolutely have to push it into next budget year.
I have no problem working with the city systems that we were accustomed to. This is slightly unique. The only thing I would ask here, because we are going to be contracting with these 6 different companies and giving them a contract. In your resolution, for whatever amount we approve now, Just state that you're anticipating to account for the balance in next year's retainage.
That's fine.
Something like that.
I think that.
Then my boss can, be satisfied.
Yeah.
You know,
Got it.
All
right, all right, so then, there's now a motion on the floor that should reflect a increase to the retention agreement with GHD in the amount not to exceed $225,000 through the end of this current fiscal year, with anticipation that we will be proceeding further with the amounts to make sure that we can secure CBOs and CH funds.
Second one, so moved.
Been motion properly seconded. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Sunderland, aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 7.
I missed who made the first and second.
First, second.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to item 7, monthly report from Veolia. Ms. Hill.
Yes, sir, David Hill, Philly Water. Real quick on revenue, it was a good month for revenue on our affordability program side. Looks like we collected roughly $50K from Promise Day, and then New York State Buffalo East Side program collected $130K.
Yeah, that's 7. So, oh, that one check that came in from Lava.
Oh,
That's 7 grand. Huh?
that was weird. But overall, our revenues for the year are lining up according to the projections. We got a good month this month. Looks like coming in 400,000 better than budget, or what our expectations were. We had a good month last month. I can tell you that production's up. I believe that's page 14. You can look at our production numbers in January and February this year. You compare those to previous years, we're up about 5 million gallons a day. Now, Mr. Sykes drilled down on that a little bit more and determined where that's going. But we've definitely seen an uptick here in the past few weeks or months.
We got a hit.
Customer service, I do want to acknowledge something Mike and Boaz and Damon Mann are working on during the process of upgrading our Neptune platform, our meter reading platform. Basically, it's the software necessary to incorporate all of our reads. This new platform is going to provide us flexibility to read in different manners that we haven't been able to before via cell phone, tablets, and we'll be able to now pick up all the information and all the new meters that we're installing and provide more in-depth analysis towards leaks and things of that nature, perhaps. So, but this platform's a big deal, and they're working together collectively to bring it up to speed. Probably the most important project we have here at the plant is the fluoride installation. It's going, and we're continuing to work on that. We have taken advantage of the weather, and we're a little bit better than schedule at this point. Lastly, the limit accounts, I spoke of the last month, the specialty maintenance account did not change too much. We're still roughly 85%. So we're going to withhold asking for requests until next month. But we will be coming to a request to carry us from now to the end of the year.
All right, thank you.
That's it.
Any questions, board? All right, hearing none. We will move on now to item number 8, which will be executive session to discuss contract and litigation matters. With that, Ryan, we will be coming back only to adjourn. So I guess we can govern ourselves accordingly. Thank everybody very much for being in attendance at today's board.
Mr. Chairman, you want to set the next date?
Yes, we will do that.
April
Next meeting.
17th. Is that
I
the
heard you,
date?
Jack. What do you got? What is it?
Starting
April
April
17th.
17.
All right, everybody take a look. That's good here. All right, 17th.
I'll send an email to Jerry.
All right, thank you. All right, April 17th will be our next board meeting. We thank everybody very, very much for your time.
Back to a Wednesday.
Yeah, back to Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, everybody. That concludes the public portion of today's meeting. Have a great day.